Good evening and good morning, everyone. Very nice to see you again. And
Yeah.
I hope the talk, the content, uh, did, didn't scare you too much because it's quite difficult to understand. But I have tried my best to explain and make things clear. And I hope you can catch the the point and the message from my explanation. Okay, before today's talk, I will give you a quick recap. Yesterday, we began looking at more into more detail about Yogacara school and their definition and the explanations about what is intrinsic nature. Some key points to remember are dharmas are split into real and not real. A real here has the meaning of stable characteristics. The existent dharmas are manifestations of seeds in the alaya vijnana that will produce the same object every time, but the seeds are impermanent. This definition of real is one explanation of how notional objects depend on real dharmas to exist. Like the human is regarded as notional and not real, but a human can only come to be when the real aggregates come together. For people who cannot accept that everything is empty, teachings that say there is something real can be more comforting and less scary. Okay. So remember that this system splits dharmas into three types. The first is called delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment. These types of dharmas do not exist at all. They have no intrinsic nature. We only think they are real due to our own delusion and erroneous attachment. The second is called phenomena dependent on causes and conditions. And these dharmas do have intrinsic nature. They are real because when the right causes and conditions come together, that same dharma will always come into existence. This meaning of intrinsic nature and the real is very different from Madhyamaka theory. When we can keep in mind these important differences, then we can learn each system properly. So I hope you can catch the differences so that when we read the consciousness only teaching, we won't be affected by the Madhyamaka teaching. Okay. Now let's continue learning about the Yogacaras key doctrines and the insight meditation practice. Now we move to the next verse, which says, whatever is dependent for a reason, it has an intrinsic nature. These phenomena's essence is delusional discrimination. Relying on alaya consciousness as causes to establish dependent coercion dharmas, the system of cause and effect can skillfully be established. Here, Venerable Yin-Shun explains how the consciousness-only doctrines interpret the teaching of conditional existence or dependent co-arising. So, according to the three types of phenomena, the first one, the delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment, are obviously false and have no intrinsic nature at all. Now we look at the second type, phenomena dependent on causes and conditions, which is synonym of dependent co-arising. Before the explanation of phenomena dependent on causes and conditions, I would like to point out the usage of the term, which has two aspects. Here we need to be clear that sometimes the reference is to the principle of dependent co-arising, and sometimes it is referring to the phenomena that arise from causes and conditions. So the term, the dependent co-arising in how can I say? In Venerable Yin-Shun or in the Buddhist texts, sometimes we just see the term occur in a certain context and just use dependent co-arising, but it can refers to the principle of dependent co-arising, or it can also refers to the phenomena that arise from causes and conditions. In the Agamas, we will come across the term, the nature of dependent co-arising, and this refers to the principle of conditional existence. In the consciousness-only teachings, when it refers to phenomena dependent on causes and conditions, the reference is to all dharmas that exist dependent on causes and conditions. The Mahayana Yogacara school has consciousness only as its fundamental tenet. Therefore, phenomena dependent on causes and conditions have delusional discrimination as its essence. This means the consciousness is defiled, and ordinary sentient beings have never had undefiled manifested activities. So what this means is our perception is full of errors, okay? So actually, consciousness is said to have 8 types. These 8 consciousnesses are the consciousness of eyes, consciousness of ears, consciousness of nose, consciousness of tongue, consciousness of body, and consciousness of mind, plus the 7th consciousness called consciousness or manas consciousness, okay, the seventh consciousness. And the eighth consciousness called the consciousness of alaya or alaya consciousness. Each of these consciousnesses has different functions. Some consciousness only teaching, some consciousness only teachings say that each consciousness discerns their respective objects. But Venerable Yin-Shun adopts the teaching in the compendium of the Great Vehicle, which says that the first seven consciousnesses must rely on the eighth consciousness. And in this respect, among these 8 types of consciousness, the fundamental discrimination, or what all dharmas are built upon, is the alaya consciousness. The alaya, or the eighth consciousness, is that on which all dharmas depends. Okay. Relying on the alaya consciousness, the consciousness only teachings establish how all dharma that arise from causes and conditions can exist. That is, when people question why or how do phenomena exist, the answer is due to the potentials in the alaya consciousness. So that the potentials here, we use seeds in yesterday's or the day before yesterday. So potentials or seeds are synonym. When a seed or potential becomes active, then the corresponding objects arises. This is how they explain cause and effect. So the alaya vijnana is like a stage, while the first 7 consciousnesses are like the stage props that complete the stage setup. Note that the alaya consciousness is said to be very subtle, and even the Shravakayana practitioners are unable to be aware of its presence and the mode of function. The alaya consciousness is also called the warehouse consciousness because it stores countless seeds. Manifested dharmas arise from these seeds, which include the first 7 consciousnesses and their corresponding mental factors, sense faculties, sense objects, and external worldly environment. According to compendium of Great Vehicle, all dharma, when they manifest, will in turn produce a new seed that is stored in the alaya consciousness. So it's quite complicated, isn't it? When we have an activity of perception, and this activity will produce a new seed in the alaya consciousness. So when we have a negative mental activity and we produce negative seeds in the alaya consciousness. So if we have a positive emotion or mental activities, then we have we will produce new positive seeds in the alaya consciousness. Okay. That is when the seeds in the alaya consciousness become active, it produces a new seed of the same character at the same time. Hence, from this logic, we should avoid allowing unwholesome thoughts to arise and develop into actions and speech, because that means we are creating more unwholesome seeds. So wallowing in our bad habits is like digging a deeper hole for ourselves as we create more and more bad seed. Similarly, the more we learn and contemplate the Dharma and even practice it, then the more wholesome seeds we are creating in the alaya vijnana. These wholesome seeds can counterbalance the unwholesome seeds in our alaya consciousness that arise from greed, hatred, and delusions. So the good seeds will counterbalance the bad seeds, okay? So the more wholesome seeds we plant, the percentage of unwholesome seeds become less. And so the chance of bad seed ripening reduces. This is a practical application underlying the theory of the alaya consciousness and its warehouse of seeds. Take the practice of metta, for example. There may be someone we didn't like, but we should try to tackle our aversion towards this person by objectively thinking about their good and bad points, as well as reflecting on our own good and bad points. Then we may realize that we have the same vices as that person. So how can we look down on them? Or if we don't have their vices, then we can remind ourselves to avoid developing such bad habits, etc. Such reflections help us to improve ourselves, and it is all due to this person whom we use as the mirror. So we should develop gratitude to them. Such reflection create wholesome deeds. There are some behavior that, according to the precepts, is not a major fault, but karmically will result in severe retribution. Let's take being nuisance and annoying others as example. In the precepts, this may be classed as a minor offense, and the punishment may be light. But if the nuisance behavior is disturbing another person from practicing the Dharma, then karmically this action can result in a severe retribution. So we need to learn to be more aware of our actions and the potential the disruption it may have on others. This is more evident when we attend a retreat or are in the team environment. The seeds in the alaya with consciousness have two major aspects. One aspect is the quality of or essence, and the other aspect is the combination. These two aspects can be explained as follows. The aspect of essence is like the seed that gives rise to an I. Okay? The aspect of combination is the type of I. For example, the human eye and dog's eye are different. Both have the essence of I, but their construction yields different functions, which reflects the combination aspect. In this sense, the alaya consciousness has the characteristic of seed. The term seed should not be imaged as wrong things like plant seeds. Okay, the term seed is used to relay the message of like producing like, just like what we observe with plant seeds. The term seed in the consciousness-only teachings should be interpreted as potentials. So seeds refer to the potentials from which all aspects of causes and results can be skillfully explained or established. Consciousness-only practitioners rely on this explanation of seeds, which refers to an intrinsic nature, to establish the existence of all dharmas. Therefore, cause and effect itself also has intrinsic nature. The alaya consciousness has the characteristic of seeds and is thus called dependent, co-arising based on different intrinsic identities. Okay, quite long. The technical term is quite long, but it just means the seed has different identity. The point is just like this. So what this is referring to is how seed of I consciousness is the potential that gives rise to the I consciousness. The seed of ear faculty is the potential that gives rise to the ear faculty. Okay, so the seed of greed is the potential that gives rise to greed. The seed of color green is the potential that gives rise to the color green. Defiled seeds are the potentials that give rise to defilements. And defiled seeds are the potentials that give rise to that which is undefiled. So I think you probably can see the logic, seeds, potentials, and the manifested existence. Okay. Essentially, seeds have the potential to manifest their corresponding Dharma, and these Dharmas in turn will produce the same kind of seeds. So this is the theory of how the seeds function to establish the world we experience and the system of cause and effects. This nature or characteristic of seeds is known as individual abilities producing results of the same intrinsic nature. This presents a view of cause and result, where intrinsic nature means producing the same characteristics. However, aside from the seeds that hold certain intrinsic nature, there is also the need for supporting conditions in order for the seed to manifest the result. So seed is sort of the cause, and the cause, the seed need a condition to manifest the result. Therefore, such dharmas are called phenomena dependent on causes and conditions. According to Yogacara school, consciousness is the life source of our existence. Although this body is important for our existence, we cannot live without the consciousness. Based on the consciousness-only teachings, the alaya, the alaya consciousness, the seed of alaya consciousness are defiled and create further errors. So the quality of the seed for us, everyone, include me, are not pure or defiled, and without the influence from the Buddha's teaching, our perception is full of errors. So this is true when Buddha's teachings have no influence on sentient beings. So once we start to learn or listen to the Dharma, this will change, okay? So the method to improve this situation is to listen to and learn the Buddha's teachings, to plant pure and wholesome seeds. These wholesome seeds can help us correct our erroneous perceptions. Some people have questioned, well, if our habits is to perceive things incorrectly, then would we not also perceive the Buddha's teachings incorrectly? The consciousness only school responds that the Buddha's teaching have spatial power, okay, which have positive influence on our perceptions. So this is the answer. So because we need a start point to change. So without the help of Buddha's teaching, we don't know what is correct of this world. I mean, the correct is the true situation, okay? But once we start to learn the Buddha's teaching, and we start to know we start to understand or know this world in correct way, Okay. So this is because these teachings, so why the Buddha's teaching has a special power? Why? This is because these teachings come from the perfect awakening to the truth and is imbued with Buddha's special blessings. So when we learn the Dharma and with the guidance of good spiritual teachers, we are able to correctly understand the teachings, and so the seeds we plant in the alaya consciousness will be wholesome or pure. The more we learn the Dharma and practice it, the more wholesome seeds we create, and the effect is to outnumber the unwholesome seeds. Okay, sort of like buying raffle tickets. If you only buy one ticket, then the chance of your tickets being selected is small. But if most of the tickets belong to you, then the chance of you winning is much higher. So in this respect, there is an initial element of faith that is required. You must have faith in the Yogacara teachings, and then with continued practice, you affirm it for yourself. So we need to practice and to make sure it is the right teaching. Okay, although it's quite the approach is quite different from the Madhyamaka school, but both are doable. Okay, from this position, one can see how the consciousness only school views cause and result, where seeds with their intrinsic nature give rise to manifested dharmas of the same intrinsic nature. This view is different from the Madhyamaka view of cause and result based on emptiness without an intrinsic nature that is fixed and permanent. Venerable Yin-Shun considers the Madhyamaka view to be more thorough, but not everyone is able to understand it. For example, when the Prajnaparamita teachings talk about emptiness, we can think about it using modern science, which shows that matter can be transformed into energy. Therefore, form can lose its characteristics of taking up space and having shape, etc. At the atomic level or quantum level, this is even more evident. But in daily life, most people are unable to witness the transformation of matter into energy. Even though there are stories of spontaneous combustion, how many of us have actually seen it with our own eye? For ordinary human, seeing is believing, and so without such experience, it is not easy for some people to accept Madhyamaka teachings on emptiness. That's why Yogacara teachers have come up with a different approach to explain how this world works and lead people to realize the truth. Okay, so I think the message should be clear to you. I have do my best to convey the what the teaching from Reverend Yin-Shun, from the teaching from Venerable Yin-Shun to convey the message from his work to you. Okay, so I have tried my best to make it clear and easier to understand. So the process of this world occur, or this phenomena exist, is when our the seeds or in the alaya vijnana come across the right condition, and they become active. Active means they, from the potential status, they change this the status from the potential status to the manifested status. Okay, so all this world we experience is just the projection of alaya vijnana, which is combination of different seeds. Okay, so so the purpose of this teaching is to reduce our attachment to this world, because when we realize it's just the projection of our mind, so it's nothing real, right? Something like when we are in dream, and when we realize we are in dream, when we face the terrible situation, we don't have fear, okay, because we know it's dream. But sometimes when even when our conscious know it's dream or it's just film, but when we see the movie, we will influenced. We will be influenced by the scenario. Okay, so just be mindful and be aware of the unreal situation of this world, because it's just a projection of our alaya consciousness. Okay, so I think it's time we need a break. And also the next slide is another verse. So we will begin with this verse next class. So let's have a 10 minutes break. Okay. Oh, let's back to our class. So this is the next verse. The purpose of this verse is to explain the insight practice method of the consciousness-only school. The verse says, Dharmas external to the consciousness are non-existent. The consciousness in principle is existent. Upon understanding that external phenomena do not exist do not exist, but only consciousness. One then can realize the truth. So, according to the Yogacara doctrine of cause and effect, dharmas external to the consciousness are not real. This is because the explanation of cause and effects is based on the alaya consciousness and how seeds manifest dharmas, which in turn produce new seeds. That means everything originates from the consciousness, so there is no separate existing external thing. However, sentient beings instinctively think that external objects are real material objects that have no connection with the consciousness at all. And if we ponder further, even our mental activities seem to be a kind of object that the consciousness encounters. This is reflected in the experience of realizing when we have mental activities of greed, anger, etc. So the consciousness or mind not only recognizes things, but also can be recognized. Our ordinary way of thinking gives rise to erroneous forms of attachment. And this is something that sentient beings have had since time without beginning. Because of such errors, there is attachment to an intrinsic nature of dharmas that are presumed to be external to consciousness. And these all fall into groups of delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment. These external dharmas are explained as empty of any intrinsic nature. So, be mindful of this definition of external objects in the consciousness-only school. Objects are external things that are thought to be real and completely independent of the consciousness. That's the definition of external objects. In this respect, such objects do not exist and are mere illusions because everything arises due to consciousness, and so its essence is consciousness. Nevertheless, the Yogacara teachings suggest that illusions must be based on something real. Their doctrines teach that the seeds of consciousness do have intrinsic nature, and this is what all illusions depend on. If it were the case that the seeds of consciousness also have no intrinsic nature, then absolutely nothing can be established logically or properly. Okay, here is the example for you. So the example of mistaking a piece of string to be a snake may help us understand this point. If the string was not there in the first place, then the illusion of snake cannot arise. So in the Yogacara theory, there must be some aspect that is real with intrinsic nature. In other words, consciousness contains an aspect of delusion or erroneous understanding, but it still has an intrinsic nature. Since time without beginning, the consciousness and its corresponding external objects have always been in accord and continually producing seeds. Therefore, when a seed gives rise to consciousness of cognition, at the same time, another seed also manifests its corresponding object. So object and subject to cognize the object occur the same at the same time. Okay. In this sense, when things manifest, there are two aspects. One, that which can discriminate, or the consciousness aspect or that can cognize. This refers to the mind or consciousness of cognition. And two, that which is discriminated, or the consciousness aspect that is cognized, which refers to the object. Okay. So here, the map can help you to understand the point better. So here is the chart to capture the process of how the mind or consciousness works and contains aspects of delusion and intrinsic nature. The blue parts represent the aspects that have intrinsic nature, while the gray parts are delusion with no intrinsic nature. When the seed in the alaya consciousness becomes active, it generates two outcomes. One is the consciousness aspects that can cognize, and the other is the consciousness aspect that is cognized. Okay. Then the consciousness that can cognize is the subject that develops erroneous attachment. The consciousness that is cognized becomes the object that is perceived as external and is attached to. Okay. So in the chart, I hope you can catch the point. So the C's become activity. So we have a pair. Cognize that which cognize things, and the other aspect, the object, to be cognized. Okay. And then because the C's possess the element or the essence of the element of the C's is full of delusion, so immediately it developed to this situation. So this is the mode that we have, the mode we perceive this world. So the process we have that which cognized and that which is cognized. And then because the seeds possess the essence of the seeds is full of delusion, is delusional, okay? So it develops into this situation, okay? So although the consciousness and the object appear to be separate and individual, in fact, objects cannot be separated from the consciousness because they rely on consciousness as its essence. Though external objects do not really exist, the objects that are inseparable from the consciousness do exist and arise from their respective seeds. So the blue part, we have something that is cognized, which is the same idea of objects, but it's in this stage, we the two two aspects are all the consciousness. The essence of these two aspects are consciousness. But when the process moves to in this stage, the consciousness of cognition will view the object as real and has attachment to the objects. Okay, so I think it should be clear now enough for you. Okay. So our habits, our habitual way of thinking assumes external objects are separate from the consciousness and existence. There is this error is why we then follow with attachments, whether it is greed, aversion, etc., towards the object. When we are able to understand that external objects are not independent of the mind or consciousness, then our perception of external object is correct. In this sense, all the causes and results relating to phenomena dependent on causes and conditions can be established. This is simply stating that consciousness is the underlying nature of all phenomena. Hence, phenomena dependent on causes and conditions do have intrinsic nature and cannot be said to be empty of an intrinsic nature. So, using mere consciousness to explain cause and result means to also only use consciousness to explain delusion and awakening. Sentient beings do not understand that external objects are merely a projection of the consciousness and are erroneous illusions. This misunderstanding is the root source of delusional attachment to external objects. Because of such delusional attachments, defilements begin to arise, which leads to the creation of karma of intentional actions. All of these aspects produce seeds which are stored in the alaya consciousness. When these karmic seeds sprout their corresponding results, when these karmic seeds sprout, their corresponding results are experienced. In this sense, the alaya consciousness is also called retribution consciousness that undergoes cyclic existence. So this consciousness has different names. So it's also called retribution consciousness. So before we call it as warehouse consciousness, right? This is because it contains countless seeds. But here, this is from another aspect to describe the alaya consciousness, because it's this is something undergoes cyclic existence, okay? But please don't regard such a consciousness as soul, because it changes all the time. Soul is permanent without any change. So the alaya consciousness is the retribution consciousness that undergo cyclic existence, but it's different from soul, okay? So our normal mode of operation is at the delusional level, because when we see external objects, we cannot see or comprehend how it is a product of our consciousness. From our senses, we see external things as tangible and existent. The Yogacara teachings try to tell us that what we see, experience, and perceive is generally erroneous. We need to break through this first. For example, when someone scolds us, we always take it a bad way. But if we set aside our own erroneous emotions, we will be able to address the matter with a calm attitude and reflect on whether there is any truth in the scolding. If there is some truth, then we should improve ourselves. If not, then we can ignore it and should not let it cause us to create more defiled seeds. Isn't this the basic aim of spiritual practice? To improve ourselves in every way possible, okay? For us to be able to understand the Yogacara doctrine on how the consciousness manifests all things, we need the practice of meditation. Only with meditation can one experience how the mind or consciousness can alter the object of focus. For example, in meditation, there is a practice where you focus on a certain color. And when you mature in that meditation practice, you can change everything you see into that color. Through such experiences of using one's mind or consciousness in meditation to change and alter our view of the external environment, one can slowly comprehend the Yogacara teachings on consciousness only. This experience in meditation is the core basis for the consciousness-only teachings. So, in summary, when one applies insight meditation to penetrate the truth that external objects do not exist, that they have no intrinsic nature, and that they manifest only due to consciousness, then through investigating phenomena dependent on causes and conditions, one will come to know that delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment are empty. Once we are able to recognize delusional phenomena, we can let go of our attachments and defilements that arise due to these delusional phenomena, such as greed or hatred and so on. In this way, we can tame our defilement. There is the story about a bhikkhuni who had already attained arahatship. So, a story for you now. At one time, she met a man who confessed that he liked her. So she then asked him, "What is it about me that you like? What is it that you find attractive?" The man replied that your eyes are really beautiful. And what happened then? The bhikkhuni then gouged out her eyes and said, "Here you go, you can have them." This shocked and terrified the man. With the immediate change in her appearance, his attraction to her also changed. Okay, so this attraction to her also changed. Although this is an extreme example of taming defilements, but hopefully it can bring across the message of how our perception of external objects are normally in a delusional state. Okay. So I hope this story can provide a clear message for you. Here, I would like to point out a contrast. Both Madhyamaka and consciousness only school aim to teach us that all external phenomena we see are empty. The Madhyamaka teaching says phenomena arise due to causes and conditions without any fixed entity, and soul are empty. That is, with one set of conditions, an object may appear desirable, but as the causes and as the conditions change, the same object can become disgusting, right? Like the story. Yogacara school explains this by saying that the object is delusional because of our erroneous attachment and perception of it. And in this sense, delusional phenomena are empty. According to Yogacara teachings, when one comprehends that external objects are empty and unobtainable, then the consciousness of erroneous cognition will lose its corresponding object and hence will not manifest. When the objects are unattainable, then the consciousness of cognition becomes to have no attachment. And in this way, one can realize the consciousness only doctrine concerning ultimate truth or emptiness. This truth is revealed when phenomena dependent on causes and conditions are free from erroneous attachments. Note that phenomena dependent on causes and conditions that are free from erroneous attachments cannot be said to be empty, okay? Explaining that consciousness exists with intrinsic nature of cause and result. This is the basis for explaining delusion and awakening. This is the main tenet of the system, or mere consciousness that is illusional. With respect to practitioners who are not equipped with all five superior characteristics, such a doctrine is truly a skillful teaching. Moreover, to establish illusions based on something that is real is a fundamental position of Sarvastivada school that belongs to the Shravakayana. Among the Shravakayana practitioners, there are some who disagree about the Mahayana teachings on all dharmas are empty. For these people or practitioners, the consciousness only school's explanation that all dharma do possess an aspect of intrinsic nature is undoubtedly a skillful teaching by the Buddha to guide them towards Mahayana. So the consciousness only school's teaching can how can I say can suit the capacity of certain Shravakayana practitioners, such as the practitioners of Sarvastivada school, okay? So the Yogacara school has many sub-schools, and the Venerable Yin-Shun has chosen the teachings that also align well with the Agama to show the link back to the Buddha's earlier teachings, okay? To finish, I would like to summarize the verses we have covered and their main purpose. The first verse points out that the consciousness-only teachings are for those whose spiritual capacity is not complete with the 5 superior qualities. That means Venerable Yin-Shun is highlighting whom the target audience is when it comes to the consciousness-only teachings. The next verse and half is about the important doctrine in the consciousness-only school, that is, clarifying the definitions and meaning of intrinsic nature and how they explain cause, conditions, and results. So remember, these fundamental doctrines on dependent, co-arising, and intrinsic nature appear in Agama texts. As with any school of thought, it is important to properly understand their theories and doctrines, as this is the basis for one's practice. After explaining the audience and the key doctrines, then Venerable Yin-Shun explains their practice method, namely the method of insight practice used in consciousness only. You need to understand the doctrines well, and with diligent insight meditation practice, one will be able to affirm what the doctrine teach and how these are false intrinsic nature and real intrinsic nature, and how all arises from the consciousness. So in terms of causes and conditions, the cause is found in the consciousness, and the external result also originates from the consciousness. When one realizes the non-existence of external objects, then the consciousness becomes still and quiet. Once the consciousness becomes still and quiet, then no further delusions will arise. That's the talk I gave these days. This is the summary, what I have said. I hope this will be helpful for you. So this brings us to the end of this year's talk on consciousness only. Remember, this just an introduction covering some key points to help you. If you choose to dive deeper into the school of thought, if you are confused, that is pretty normal. Sorry, it's quite normal. It's very difficult. Although this school claims its teaching is easier to understand, but the technical terms it uses can be a challenge at the start. For my experience, the more you learn and get familiar with the terms and definition, then easier it will become. So we got a few minutes. So any question? If you have any question, please feel free to ask. So the content clearer or become easier to understand? Any questions? So I hope some of you can start to appreciate the teachings, although quite a few technical term is confusing. Confusing. But I think I have explained and give a definition, but some of you may still mix up with other systems terminology. So don't worry. Just try to review, review, are interested in the consciousness only school's teaching. So the key point is to accumulate wholesome seeds. The way to accumulate our wholesome seed is to listen to the Dharma and practice what the Buddha taught, and to try to do things beneficial to others. Then we accumulate the wholesome deeds, and these wholesome deeds will counterbalance the unwholesome seeds. So we will become better and less mistakes in our daily life. When we speak to others, we tend to use kind speech, not harsh speech. Okay, so the seed, the more the wholesome seed we have, the less bad action occur will happen. Okay, so similar theory, I think, just use different approach to encourage us to practice the Dharma more. Okay, so Faye, you have question? No.
I would say the content is clear, but practice is confusing.
Really? Don't worry. The practice is to, how can I say, you just try to realize the things we come across is not real. Okay.
That's a difficult part.
Yeah. But if we try to contemplate these objects from either Madhyamaka way or consciousness only way, that all help us to realize these objects are not fixed, not impermanent. So once we realize things are not permanent, we start to reduce our attachment. Okay, that's the point. That's why Madhyamaka school and consciousness only school all teach us to view the things as not real, because the attachment arises from viewing things real. Okay.
But the explanation is clear, and yet to digesting is not easy.
Okay. Jenny has a question, right? Yeah. Please.
Thank you, Venerable. Okay, so there's something that I'm not getting. So Madhyamaka says there is no intrinsic nature, but Yogacara says that if phenomena are subject to cause and effect, that they have an intrinsic nature.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And why is that? Does it have to do with because seeds are created?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember the story of simile? So when we regard something as another thing, we have something first. In the first place, something has intrinsic nature, and then we misunderstand that something, and it become another thing. The other thing has no intrinsic nature. So is that clear?
Unfortunately, not really.
Oh, really? Okay. So what we experience is not the string, although it's a simile, we can know it's string, but what we experience is snake. Okay.
Okay,
So
now I get it.
yeah, good,
Okay,
very
yeah, I understand it with that simile. Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Snake is
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
If in fact something we apply a certain way of looking at something, that's kind of like a perception of something that we've changed it from what it really. It's not that it's changed. It's just that what our perception, our idea of something has changed, and so that is like when you're talking about, you know, just we've made it something else that, like, if we think that a skirt is nice, but instead we're thinking, wow, people are going to really like me. That is something that you've added to it that could be a delusion or erroneous delusion, which leads to attachment or something.
Yeah. Let me put it
I was
this.
using something stupid like that.
Yeah, I catch your point. So it's not our real experience. We need to practice meditation. That experience happen in meditation status. Okay, but some sort of similar experience may happen to us. Let me give you an example. The author, or we can change ourselves. Okay, so when we have when we are full of negative emotion, our health condition is bad, right? But we change our mind and view things positively, and our health condition change. Or we view ourselves. We can view ourselves in different ways, and we have something change. I think this might be an example we can experience at the large scope. I mean, when we see the mountain, you have one contribution and I have my contribution. So this world, many people construct this world together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you change your mind, that this mountain shape still there, because most of the people still the same, how can I say, perception of that mountain. Yeah. So the key point of the consciousness only school's teaching is focus on ourselves. Okay. So when we how can I say, when we have more positive emotion, we looks better, right?
Yeah.
We our form can
Yeah.
change. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. So let's sort of the the application of that theory and that we can experience. So the same people can change immediately when their mind changed, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think with meditation, what you're saying is that if you don't stay with that concentration and to be positive, it's like part of the meditation, the calming or something, and then moving to insight that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if I make any sense, but I'm trying to. But what I think is that you're talking about how things are objectively seeming, right?
Not really objectively seeming.
Well, as objectively, I mean, as possible. I don't mean exactly that.
Let me put it this way. We don't really see the real situation of this world. Okay?
No.
We see what we perceive. When our perception change, we can see this world differently, right?
Right. So that's not erroneous delusion, is what I meant.
Beg your pardon?
Well, no, I meant that it's not.
I mean, when our mind changed, the garbage layer is still there, right? Yeah, but it's not the point that consciousness only school relate.
I know.
To, yeah. Yeah, but in some aspects, it has this meaning. In the sutra, everyone see this world impure, right? And the Buddha used his superpower, supernatural power. Everyone see this world become pure land.
Oh my gosh. Well, in my case, I can totally imagine every detail, almost like I have a photographic memory, which doesn't help either. So,
but don't worry about this aspect. The point is to improve ourselves, and some explanation related to this world is sort of side dish, not the main course.
Yeah, I think so, but it takes a lot of work to
try to.
You know.
Patricia, are you on?
Oh, yeah.
Patricia.
Yes, Faye, I am.
You have a question? See that the Venerable is here. Answer your questions.
No, I'm trying to digest.
Okay.
The lesson. Thank you. Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Because I think this is the subject Patricia like.
Yeah. Really, you like the consciousness.
He always asks me about this alaya consciousness and all this.
Yeah, I hope you can gain some more clarification about.
I hope so.
Consciousness only theory of alaya, which Vijnana is Sanskrit term alaya.
Yes, alaya. Because that's why since you're here, so she can direct us to the right teacher.
Yeah, it's just different way to describe the approach to practice the Dharma, or the approach to describe the existence in this world. So just different way. And one is from the way we perceive, how we perceive and one is from sort of objective aspects. Yeah. So I hope you gain some benefit, and in how can I say, gain some energy to move forward towards the Buddhahood. Okay.
To practice.
Yeah, their practice. Always remember, practice can help us understand the teaching further and deeper. We need practice. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Faye.
Yes.
Thank you.
To wrap up now. Thank you for your coming this year.
Yeah.
This is a very good lecture for us.
Thank you so much. I hope you like it.
Oh, I like it. I like it. Everything you did, I like it.
Thank you so
Very
much.
good to me.
That's so kind of you.
Not just me, to all of us. Yeah.
This was a very good retreat.
Yes.
Yeah.
This time is very good. It's a little bit heavy, but it's very
healthy.
but the result of it isn't heavy. When you meditate or something, you know what I mean? It's the content is terminology, like he says.
I think
once we start to practice, we understand the terminology better. Yeah.
I think we improve a little bit better this time. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I hope you can transfer your merits gain from listening to the Dharma talk to all sentient beings.
Yes.
And with them free from the sufferings, and can practice Dharma and eventually attain the liberation.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Let's end this summer retreat now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.